What's going on, y'all? It's Trudeaux. I really want to make this top. Isn't this cute for the summertime? I have a back tattoo I want to show off. It's about this small. But I do want to show it off. This one has a peplum. I got curious. Where did the peplum come from? We're gonna talk about that. And because it takes up so much fabric, I was like, well, let me just use a sheet. And the only sheet I have right now is the one that I used for the lining for this dress from a couple videos back. The sheet is white, the shirt is white, boring. TikTok and Instagram have been consistently hitting me with cyanotype on my feed. So I'm gonna do some cyanotype. And I'm gonna talk a little bit about cyanotype, where it comes from. I ordered a cyanotype shirt a while back with Joel and Clementine from Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind, one of my favorite movies. I watched it like 2 or 3 times and the damn thing faded off. There's this new thing called
Solar Fast Dye by Jacquard,
which is kind of like an updated version of cyanotype. You can do it in a bunch of different colors, like you don't just have to do the blue. So I found a kit and I ended up placing an offer for $25. Also, I just wanted it so bad that I didn't even check what colors came with it, but that's how I like to do it. So we're about to make something fly as hell because it is backless girl summer. I'm gonna work on that. So listen, basically if my bust and my hips coincide with a size 14 on this pattern, and my waist goes with a size 16, which I do not have the pattern for that. So I was thinking of doing the slash and spread method, but I don't like dealing with tape and pattern pieces together and I'm not gonna do that. And I use a projector. I just have too much shit already and I really don't want to acquire more. So I don't like dealing with paper patterns. I figure that since the waist is 2 inches larger for the size 16, if I add a 1/4 inch to each of the bodice pattern pieces, then I should be golden. And then I could take it in later, right? Yeah, that logic checks out.
So I wrote down what pieces I'd be needing to cut out of the sheet and which ones needed interfacing.
So intelligible. I'm gonna cut out the biggest pieces first and just add a 1/2 inch to each of those, including the peplum. I feel like this is something that I can fix later if I have to. All right, I'll see y'all in 10 hours.
I cut my pieces out and Lou wanted in on this activity.
Very nice scarf on you. Okay, I'm very close to being done cutting out the fabric, and it has not been 10 hours, it's been like 3. But should I do the cyanotype before I put the garment together? Because I kind of think I should. Otherwise, won't it just be like random weird patches instead of like a potentially continuous motif? What am I saying? I don't know. I went to this thrift store and they sell these scrapbook packages. You can use magazines to create transfers. Basically, I would just tape them, soak them in water, and then rub off the extra paper. So I think I'm going to go through this and find some cool images to use. I'm already seeing a beautiful lady right here. Now, who is this? Yeah, I haven't looked through this yet. Hello, handsome. I don't know if I want it to be all people, though. I don't know. We'll figure it out. Holy crap. If it ain't Princess Di on her oh my goodness, on her wedding day. Look at that. Getting married to that piece of trash. Look at this too. Dang, they really got the scoop and the skinny on there. I'm gonna have to go through these and I'll let you know what I choose.
So here's the method I found. Basically, you take an image from a magazine, cover it in packing tape, and then let it soak long enough that you can rub off the paper. In some cases, the paper will just slide right off, and that's when you're lucky. Because in other cases, you're going to be rubbing this until your thumbs are raw as hell. So I got to work.
The man's here! So while she's working on that, let's open up this thing of solar print. And since I don't know what colors I got, this is going to be a surprise for both of us. I'm really hoping I got blue. It should be 3 colors in here. Yes! Orange, violet, and blue. Ooh.
Another really cool thing about this is that
you can mix the colors together and create a new color. I'm gonna have to do some tests with a few of the negatives I've already created because I obviously don't know what I'm doing and I don't know how effective they will actually be because some of them are really light tinted. So I'll document that process and let you know how it goes.
What sucks though is that the weather is going to be gross and rainy all week. So I don't know if the results would be the same as if it was a sunny day. When are we going to see sunshine again? I'm just going to try in the sunroom. I'm in my little fake dark room. I'm going to check out how the butterflies look first. I'm going to try with the purple. What I need to do first is apply it to the fabric. I knew I was going to need a glass pane to hold down the stencil to the fabric, so I removed the glass from a piece of art I had lying around. I think we're ready. I used a little sponge that came with the kit and dabbed it in a little shape big enough to see what the butterflies were going to look like. After placing the stencil, then the glass on top, I brought it into the sunroom to lay it down for the recommended 10 to 20 minutes. Okay, it's been about 15 minutes and I do see some development. So I guess that I don't need the bright sunshine. Yes, I do. Never mind. I'm gonna leave it for half an hour out there. Okay, after half an hour, this is what I got. It's not satisfactory, so I'm just gonna leave it for the rest of the day. Is that crazy? Maybe I put too much. I don't know what I did. Okay, bye. I'm still doing this. This is a really tedious thing to be doing. I'll show you what I got so far. This beautiful kimono. A lot of birds. It's mostly birds, to be honest. This is from National Geographic. These are the Japanese cranes. So I'm going to put a lot of Japanese cranes on this thing. While I waited for the butterflies to continue developing, I continued doing whatever this is, and I ripped some of them. Oh no! Oh well. But let's check on the butterflies real quick. Okay, you know, I did that wrong. They said to remove it from the sunlight before you expose it. I didn't do that. I have to use the solar wash to get rid of any of the dye that has been unexposed, and I'm gonna do that in the dark. I spilled this shit everywhere. Everywhere. Girl, it was under my mat, on the floor, on these bags I had underneath the table. They were soaking wet. Everywhere. What a pain in the ass. And it was soapy water. That came close to ruining my day. That damn bucket that has a handle on it decided to do a little topsy-turvy little dance. I can't sit down because everything got all over the chair too. So I'm letting everything dry. And when I work up the nerve to do this again, I'm not following the damn rules. I'm not using that damn bucket. I'm just going to throw it in the washing machine. It does say that I can put a couple capfuls of that in there with the hottest setting possible. And I think that's going to have to be the move. Okay. For now, I'm just going to map out which pieces I want to have the solar dye on. And which ones I potentially want to keep white. I don't know. I saw someone say that they make a wash half and half, the Solar Fast Dye and water. I think I'm gonna just put that in the bucket. Oh Lord, not the damn bucket again, girl. And then submerge my things. This is gonna look crazy. If I had an inkjet instead of a laser printer, I would be able to make negatives and do the same thing I did with the magazine pages. However, since I don't, my cyanotype prints were going to print out like the opposite of the magazine cutouts, basically printing negatives onto the fabric. It might be a little bit of a subtle look, but I think it'll add visual interest. Clearly, I was already regretting how I did all of this. Deep breaths, girl. This is supposed to be fun. You got this. So I'm going to do it my own way. That's right. I'm putting gloves on, and I'm using the bucket, and if it messes up this time, I'm going to jail. Because I'm going to scream so loud, even you're going to be able to hear me wherever the hell you are. So yeah, I made a little mixture and then I started dunking the pieces into the damn thing. Because if I used a sponge, it was going to take even longer than this. And I'm telling you, this was my whole day. I don't know about this. I'm going to put this one down. Oh my God, that's going to look outstanding. And now we bring them outside and we wait. Wow. I can really see it changing quick. Okay, so I've been doing this for quite a minute and it's warmer outside than I thought. And I'm getting lazy. Alright, so I accidentally did something that I think is giving a very cool effect. And what that is crumpling it up as I go. See, like this is just from crumpling them.
The front two bodice pieces are kind of a darker color, but I think for the back and the ruffles, I'm gonna do that crumpling up effect because it'll save me from not having a good time. And this is why I'm here, is to have a good time. This is why we're all here on Earth, okay? This is very messy. I don't know what I was thinking. Sometimes I have gloves on and sometimes I don't. So, we'll see. Also, I washed off all of the markings that I did before. I'm gonna have to remark those. Very precise measuring.
This entire process was a prime example of trial and error.
What about this?
So basically I was dunking these into the solution and folding them some type of way or crumpling them.
What the hell did I just do?
Letting them sit in the bright ass sun. I mean, look how bright it is. And then I would come upstairs and immediately throw it into the washing machine and repeat.
It's bright out here. Can you tell? I don't even have timers going. I'm just like, whenever it looks like it's a color I like, then I walk away. I'm not sure if that's gonna have a good effect or not, but at this point, I don't give a damn. I think that cyanotype is annoying as hell, especially if you have to keep walking up and down stairs, and all I want is some ice cream. But since I'm doing it, you know, I like to add a little bit of history in there, and we're gonna find out why people would want to do this annoying ass shit. And now I can wash these things, thank God. So what is cyanotype? It's a really satisfying photographic technique used to print patterns using UV light, and it's also one of the earliest photographic techniques. It produces a rich Prussian blue monochromatic print,
And its name comes from the Greek words kyanios, meaning dark blue, and typos, meaning mark, impression, or type.
It uses two chemicals and only water to develop and fix. And how the hell did they discover that? English mathematician, astronomer, chemist, experimental photographer, Sir John Herschel had an inkling that previous experiments done by his own father, William Herschel, and Johann Ritter would help him reveal photochemical reactions visible to the human eye. Basically, in the year 1800, his father, William Herschel, German-British composer astronomer, had discovered the infrared extreme of the electromagnetic spectrum when observing the temperature of different colors by moving a thermometer through light split by a prism. He noticed that the highest temperatures were beyond the visible red seen in the prism. So he thought, well, there must be some light here that we just can't see. And then the next year, Johann Ritter, German chemist, philosopher, and physicist, was working on the other end of the electromagnetic spectrum and noticed what he called chemical rays. These rays were invisible but induced chemical reactions. So they were beyond the visible spectrum and eventually became called ultraviolet radiation. So later on in 1842, our original guy, Sir John Herschel, was aware of a chemical compound called ferric oxalate, which was sensitive to light, but he also knew that when it was printed too light, and that wasn't going to be satisfactory for his experiment. But a buddy came in, Alfred Smee, English surgeon, chemist, metallurgist, electrical researcher, and inventor, had himself isolated a compound called potassium ferrocyanide, which he shared with Sir John Herschel. Herschel combined that with ammonium iron citrate, which at the time was commercially available as iron tonic, which was used to remedy iron deficiencies. So he mixed the two in perfect percentages, mixing some water as well, and then he added it to the paper. With a blast of sunlight as well, bam! We got the Prussian blue color. Then to fix and intensify the color,
He rinsed the print with water to remove any unexposed reaction products.
So then around 1843 to 1861, and that's a wide range, I'm telling you, this takes a long time. Okay. Botanist and photographer Anna Atkins, who was friends with the Herschel family,
She started hand printing textiles and botanicals using this method.
creating the world's first photographically illustrated books.
Wow.
And honey, I love a picture book.
And more people started using these methods and discovered other colors like cyanotype, violet, green, brown, red, black. So yeah, Herschel didn't patent it and a bunch of other people started using it, but not until 1872 did it start being used for technical drawings. The manufacturing of these blueprint papers became the standard for architectural and engineering plans until the 40s, mostly because it was cheap and easy to use. So yeah, that's pretty cool, right? And one last thing I'll say on this is that he actually invented a way to print positives instead of negatives. Sounds like it's a little bit more of a complicated process. I found out about something created in 1877 called gum Arabic iron cyanophore. I'm gonna have to go down a rabbit hole because that would be so cool if I could print positives instead of the negatives. I have no idea what they look like, but they probably look a mess. You can't probably even tell that it's Japanese cranes, but is it gonna look like birds? I still haven't looked yet, and they're done, so let's see. I'm trying to see if I can identify any birds on any of these. This one looks splotchy. No birds to be found. Oh, this must be one of the ones that I wrinkled up. And this is the collar. I actually like it. Is that a bird? I don't see no birds. That looks like one I just wrinkled up for sure. This is the peplum, which I will be talking about the history of the peplum too, if you're interested. Okay, here's one. What the hell? Does that look like a bird to you? There's like a little wing right here. That shit don't look like nothing. Okay, this looks like birds, kinda. And the last one. Oh, okay. This one you can actually see birds.
Toxic positivity strikes again.
Birds. I do think it's a pretty color. So yeah.
Maybe I do really need to learn about gum Arabic iron cyanotype because this really didn't do shit.
So what do you say we get started on this? Because I already did get started. I added the interfacings to the pieces that needed the interfacings.
All those pieces except one, which was the front right bodice. For that one, I'd have to do a bit extra to create the button placket.
Ow.
But first I needed to stitch the bust art.
I'm thinking about what color thread I want to use. From the photo, it does look like there is some stitching visible. I don't know if I have a blue that matches. What about a gray? Because the only other colors I have that kind of match are embroidery thread, and I don't think you're supposed to use that.
No.
I'm not gonna lie to y'all, I don't really have a lot of gray, so I'm praying and hoping that I don't run out during this project. Okay. I guess I'm using embroidery thread. Please tell me if that's a huge mistake. Is this just gonna fall right off of me, like melt off in the rain? I hope not. Or maybe it'll sparkle.
I stitched the dart, tying a knot at the end so it would be crispy like Krispy Kreme.
Have you ever had a Krispy Kreme? Have you ever gone to Krispy
Yeah.
Kreme? Was it crispy?
No.
Yeah, right.
Great! Now what?
I have to fold this down 1/4 inch, and then I'm gonna be folding it down again, I think. There's 2 outer fold lines. There's one here where my index finger is, and then there's one down here where my pinky is.
And the one by the pinky is where I folded my first fold to meet.
Oh, I'm gonna be using a slip stitch, my new favorite hand sewing technique. Now this slip stitch is a little bit different from the one I did before, where I was adjoining 2 pieces of fabric and wanted it to be invisible. This time,
I'm stitching the button placket closed.
I'm gonna need to come in through the fold. Then I'm just gonna pick up a couple threads from the front bodice.
Why can't I do this easily in 2 seconds on the first try?
I don't think I like the slip stitch anymore. In my last video, I said it was my favorite new thing, and now I want to punch myself because I'm unable to grab just a couple threads for some reason. Okay, this is hard. I'm going to put on the headlamp and lay down.
Slip stitching the buttonhole placket proved to be an exercise in precision as well as a direct means of obtaining cockiness.
Alright, don't let me go around having a big head because I did such an amazing job.
Wow.
Incredible.
And next it was time for the step that every sewist loves so very much, stitching the buttonholes. What a joy.
So I'm trying to put these damn buttonholes in, except I'm doing practices first. And what is wrong with my damn machine? Because look at this. Can you see how half of it is very narrow? You can see it on the blue right here. Half of it is the correct size and the other size is really, really narrow. So I guess I'm gonna have to make my own buttonholes. I don't want to do that. This is wonky as hell, but I guess it's the best I can do. What the hell? Maybe I should just hand sew them because this is not precise at all. I'm not trying to take all day with this. All right, I have other things to do. So I think I'm just gonna use the machine for the majority of the buttonhole and then just hand sew that one side that's coming up short. Otherwise it's gonna be crooked as hell looking, and I'm trying to be couture. Okay, this is a Vogue garment. Oh my god, I just did another practice one and it came out fine. What the hell is going on?
And isn't that just the beauty of sewing? Sometimes your machine will make you question your life choices.
Now we're talking. Lou, tell him now we're talking. Now we're talking. Man, me and this machine got beef now. Now I just want to get rid of it altogether. I wonder if there's a such thing as just a thing that does buttonholes only. I'm gonna look that up and paste it here. And maybe purchase it.
Probably a waste of money, like the other dumb thing you bought.
This lady says it makes sewing fun, fast, and easy.
No.
Alright, next. And I have to go help somebody move, so I might not finish this today. But I gotta bring the buttonhole part down and fold it on the outer fold line. Then I have to baste on the inner fold line, which means a long stitch just to keep stuff in place. Alright, that's what I'm doing.
Tomorrow.
I basted at the inner fold line here, and then I brought the outer fold lines together to cover the buttonholes. I wish they had done this in a different order. I kind of think that the darts are causing this to not be as flat and straight as I want it to be. So at some parts, the buttonhole placket is kind of sticking out of the outer covering placket, and it's also like a bit bulky right here. I'm just rolling with it. Now I have to baste it again from the inside because my actual stitches are going to end up being on the outside. So here's the inside and here's the outside. I'm gonna press that again because it got a little wavy. I can definitely see improvement in myself because, I mean, I'm always kind of critical and I often do it incorrectly. However, now I can tell when pattern instructions seem like they could have been written better. So if you want me to review any patterns, I got you, boo.
I stitched along the basting stitches and picked the basting stitches out. Then I basted the upper edges together and stay stitched the top of the neck. Now it was time for the front left bodice. This time I decided to leave the darts for last because I didn't trust the order Vogue decided to put the instructions.
I'm watching, y'all.
Meanwhile, my tension was way off, so I probably should have just stayed in my lane.
What the hell?
So yeah, anyway, I folded and pressed along the inner facing fold line, then again for the facing fold line, and basted close to the inner fold. After top stitching the basted stitches and the upper and lower edges, I realized they forgot a small step.
Wait a second. Why didn't they tell me to stay stitch this top part? I'm gonna do it anyway.
See, I know what I'm talking about. I'm back in it.
Guess what? I was right. It's a lot flatter. Now I'm putting the darts on. So the left and right bodices need to go together now. And I just want to say something real quick about projector sewing. I have my projector sitting on a random box. I think because of that, sometimes things shift a little bit. And it's unfortunate because sometimes something like this will happen where a piece doesn't match up perfectly and I just have to guess. And I don't love that. But for my birthday, I asked my boyfriend to set it up in a stationary position somewhere above the table. So hopefully that gets done by August. My birthday's in August. Right now, I'm supposed to be matching up the center fronts. And remember how one side, the side with the button placket, this part is a little bit not straight. It's kind of curved somehow. But you can see right here, the center front line is right here. And then the center front line on this one is right here. It's not going to be exact, but as long as the buttons are still able to be buttoned, I think I'll be okay. And all I have to do here is just baste at the bottom. But I'm going to pin first because I know what I'm doing. I saw a Reddit thread that was like, what's the major sign that a person can't actually sew? And one of them was that they don't use pins. So I'm going to start using pins. I'm more of a clipper.
I know how to sew, so I pinned along the front bodices, keeping the lines as straight as possible. Then I basted the bottom edge.
I don't know why I ever put it against my body like this, as if that's going to show y'all anything, but here you go.
No.
So now there's these two triangular panels at the back. Here they are. I need to attach those at the side seams. Some of them ended up coming out kind of boring when I dyed it like this. Can't really see anything printed. So I'm going to save that because I have 4 of these. And those are going to be for the inner facing. The inner facing
See, this one's kind of boring, but peep these. What does this remind me of from the 90s? Or like PacSun or Britney Spears and Crossroads. I'm not sure which one, but it's beautiful. Those are gonna go right at the side seams. Why does 5/8 inch seam allowance seem so large to me? I have it bibbed on me like this to see if it seems like it's gonna fit, but God only knows. It does touch around the waist. Is it too baggy right here? I don't know. I'm losing speed, Lou. You know what actually I realized is that I looked through this pattern to see where it tells you to finish, overcast, or serge anything. And I see spots where it says finishing seams, but there's nowhere that overcast appears and there's nowhere that serge appears, which I usually don't see serging in any pattern anyway. I wonder if it's because this is a professional pattern and usually people will already know when to do that, but I'm reaching the part of the peplum. I need to stitch the front to the 2 back pieces. Nowhere in the instructions does it say finish this, so I think I would just have raw edges hanging out there, and I don't want that. And that makes me wonder, like, I figure the collar will be finished on all ends and that the seams are going to be enclosed, but should I not finish the bottom of this with serging? Someone please explain. If you're used to dealing with patterns like this, can someone explain to me if this is just something that people know and assume from the beginning, because I don't get it. At this step, they wanted me to put the peplum together, and I did so. However, they didn't ever say put it together. They just said gather it. So if you were a beginner working on this, you'd be like, well, what the hell? Like, isn't there something missing?
I'm editing right now, and you know what's so funny is that I'm looking back at this clip, and later on when I was looking for help to figure out how to make this damn shirt, because some of it is complicated and annoying, I found somebody who looked it up on Reddit, who was a beginner, who was like, why is the peplum seam not sewn? So I was right.
I made sure I serged everything. I'm gonna actually wait on serging the bottom of the top. I evened it out. I don't know if that's gonna be good or not. But yeah, I'm gonna do these gathers. And as I do that, future me is gonna be in the other room telling you about peplums, because I was surprised a few of my friends didn't even know what the hell a peplum is.
And there's some pretty interesting history to it.
So for our purposes, a peplum is a top with a little mini skirt attached, like so. According to Wikipedia, some people call an overskirt a peplum, but who the hell has heard of that? All the examples on Wikipedia for an overskirt are kind of like a bustle or an extra skirt attached on top of a different garment. But they also say an overskirt peplum shouldn't be confused with the Greek peplos dress, so that means there are 2 things referred to as a peplum, and neither of them are what I think of when I think of a peplum top. So it appears to me that peplum, in the way we think of it, comes from the Greek peplos dress, which was worn by Greek women in 500 BC. The Greek peplos dress was basically a long garment that was draped over the body, open on one side and pinned at the shoulders. The top third of it was folded over to create an overfold called the apoptygma. Then a belt or girdle would be attached at the waist, and another fold would be created that could be shortened or lengthened based on the wearer's height.
Did I do this right? I asked my boyfriend if this was fashion forward, and he said it was fashion somewhere, so I guess not.
So it was worn in archaic, early classical, and classical periods in Greece, and then later on, Spartan women wore a shorter, sassier version that even had slits on the side. Oh, get it, girl. In ancient Greece, though, the priestess of Athena and some chosen group of 7 to 11-year-old girls would get together and ritualistically set up a loom for Athena, who was not only a warrior goddess, but also the patron of craft and weaving.
Let's take a moment to honor the mighty Athena, teacher of textiles, patroness of art and craft, and weaver of excellence. We sing of you.
Anywho, so this little group of girls would get together with another group of little girls, and they would take 9 months to weave the sacred peplos, which usually would depict great mythic battles between gods and giants. The sacred peplos was used to dress the statue of Athena on the Acropolis, which was changed each year during the festival Plynteria. During that festival, temples closed and businesses shut down. A giant rope was tied around the temple of Athena on the Acropolis to prevent people from getting in. The statue of Athena would be stripped down and temporarily covered with something else to protect her body from the eyes of leering men.
Oh, hell no.
And so a new sacred peplos would be added and the old one would be ritually cleaned. During the day of the festival Plynteria, the city was considered unprotected by the goddess Athena, and so any big moves made during that day
were considered a pretty bad idea. So even though I couldn't find a Wikipedia page, I'm pretty sure that this has to be the origin because it's uncanny. So we see versions of the peplum throughout history, from the Renaissance doublet jackets that flared out from the waist, as well as some of the gowns that were worn by the aristocracy, to the mid-19th century with the rise of the bustle, which featured fabric gathered around the derriere for some extra volume, and old school BBL. And I also kind of mentioned this in a previous video, but in the 1940s, the peplum was also popularized with Christian Dior's new look, which was meant to emphasize an hourglass body type. And this kind of made its way into everyday wear and became super trendy with the 80s power suit, which featured shoulder pads and a peplum over a pencil skirt. Huge fan of this look personally, and I'm actually wondering when the hell the shoulder pad is coming back, because I want to see it and I want to wear it. Since then, they've kind of gone in and out of style. Sometimes you can find them in Walmart, and other times you'll mention it and somebody will be like, what the hell is a peplum? So that's about it. Thanks, homie. Okay, so I serged the bottom of this because otherwise it was just going to be raw. The peplum is gathered along the sides of the skirt. I think I'm just going to start at the side seams, get those gathered just right, and then once I have the sides attached with the gathered parts, then I'm going to gather the big long piece. I think that'll make everything a bit easier for me. I got attacked! Damn, she already left.
Y'all, it is such a joy in my life to play pretend and make these videos for your viewing pleasure.
Oh shit.
So, if you haven't already, now's a good time to subscribe.
What the hell? Alrighty, so it looks like old girl from yesterday got all the way through to finishing the ruffles. So this is what we got. Now I need to do the invisible zipper. I might screw it up a few times, and I don't want to put you through that, so let me go ahead and do that. Okay, I put the zipper in. Woo! Isn't that looking cute? Nah, just kidding. Why is sizing so hard? I can fix this. The next step is telling me to do the facings. I think I need to get the fit right first. Maybe I'll try putting it on Esmeralda. Esmeralda is a little bit bustier with a smaller waist than me, so that's not extremely helpful. The bust is like 1.5 inches bigger than me, and the waist is about correct. I gained an inch recently because I can't stop eating ice cream because I quit drinking. Be happy for me. Anyway, this thing ain't the right size. Yeah, I'm done. So since I realized that this doesn't fit, I've given myself a week to edit video as well as think about solutions for this. In the meantime, I've been focusing on other artistic pursuits because I need to get my mind off of it so that good ideas will come. And the other thing I've been doing is making ACEO, so if you're interested in any of those, here's what some of them look like, and you can find them on my eBay under the same name, Trudeaux. Alright, let's keep going. So, my concern is whether to take it in on the sides or at the back, because I still want the facings to be able to fit properly and for there to be a gradual line along the side. So I'm gonna start with putting the buttons on, and I fear that I may end up needing to remove the invisible zipper. So I have the buttons on, and I'm realizing that without the collar, this is gonna be too hard for me to measure myself and get the tailoring right. The waist part is significantly larger than what I anticipated, and so I guess adding 1/2 inch to the entire thing didn't make any sense at all. I could have just stuck with the original sizing that was on the pattern, but I'm always doing some shit. So I think what I'm going to do is put the collar on as much as I can and just leave it kind of flying free right here for now, and then get the sizing and then put the facings on. I have the tendency to pull through in times like this. Why do I do this?
I sewed the collar right sides together and then clipped the corners, which they did not say to do. Then I turned it inside out.
Ooh.
So on this part of the collar band, this is a little different than other collars because it's free on the back. It's not attached to anything. So you have to cut these little notches and then fold the interface side of the collar band up.
Now I got these two hot dogs, and one of them is a broken hot dog, and I gotta pin them together like so. And look at how many pins I used.
And that's when you attach the collar to the collar stand. Now we're at the lovely part where we attach the collar to the rest of the shirt. Twisted.
Oh no!
I swear, as you watch this video, you can see my mood go from really happy and optimistic to extremely frustrated, back to happy and optimistic. So hold tight. This is all about the journey, and I have chapters if you want to skip ahead.
So listen, at this point I'm regretting everything I've done. I started off on the wrong foot. When I cut it out in the beginning, I extended everything by a ½ inch thinking, this is a great idea. That doesn't make any sense. This was my fault.
Guess what? It wasn't actually my fault because I recut the bodice down to a size 12 and started over, getting myself all the way to the step where I tried it on, and look at this shit.
Okay, I've made it to this point with a size 12 and I'm having the same problem. So guess what? I don't think this is my fault. I don't know what the hell is wrong with this pattern. I'm so irritated. The problem with it is that I can't really like bring these in because then the sides aren't going to match up. And I can't hold it up with my hands and still figure out how to size that properly. And Esmeralda is a different size. Whatever, let's keep it going. I'm actually freaking amazed at how much this top has pissed me off. It is impossible to get this fit right when I can't. It doesn't stay up. I really feel like I'm gonna cry.
Y'all are not going to believe this, but I removed the peplum and started completely over, besides the buttonholes. I felt like that was the only way to get the fit of this damn bodice correct. And I was right. Basically, I had to angle the back triangle pieces inward over and over again until the bodice felt tight against my body all around. Then I added the armhole facing, which now tapers smaller towards the back panel, but you gotta do what you gotta do. Okay, we're all caught up now and there's no turning back. Next was the facing for the back panel. These little damn triangles.
I feel like I'm drinking crazy juice from the crazy spring. So this back panel facing, I'm stitching them along the tops, and then because this pattern piece is so off, like everybody had a problem with this part that I could find online. I'm doing the fold, then I'm going to trim, then I'm going to do another fold, then I'm going to trim. Okay, and for these two to meet, I am going to continue this line as close as I can this way and even it out. It's not a science. It's a lot of guesswork. Have y'all used Vogue patterns before? Because I just saw there's a running joke that people call them vague patterns because there's so many problems with them. It's the same day. I haven't gone to bed. I just took a shower. But now I'm going to do the understitching and complete the facing aspect. I know I'm going to be doing a lot of hand stitching to get this triangular piece in, and that sounds like a cozy thing to do when I'm getting ready for bed, doesn't it? Now, the vague pattern also did not mention anything about clipping the curves, so I'm going to do that as well.
I slip stitched the triangles on the sides and the bottoms. That looks pretty good, right? This is what I mean when I say I got in a better mood towards the end of the video, because things started looking up. And finally, I'm getting to the last steps, which are the collar and the hem. I dismantled the old collar and restitched it together as a size 12. As you can see, I'm back on my bullshit. After putting the new collar on, I needed to slip stitch around the whole thing and then hit it with an edge stitch. The last big step was the bottom hem, which is a chunky piece of interface fabric to give the top some structure at the bottom. Now, if you're making this, don't rush like me and put the back two pieces on the opposite way, because that's what I did. And I was awful confused for a second there.
It doesn't match up.
But then I realized I was rushing through these last steps because I just wanted to get this over with. So yeah, just carefully follow the instructions, even when they're dumb, like this one.
Understitch as far as possible. It's a circle. What are y'all talking about?
It's a continuous circle with no obstacles. Please stop getting on my nerves, Vogue. Alright, at this point I think we've all had enough. These are the last steps and I did those, so here's the damn reveal.
So what do we think? Personally, I'm loving it. The only things about it that I'm not crazy about is that I didn't do the ruffles great. There's some parts where it's way more ruffly than other parts, and some of them are a little crooked. But if you're noticing that, you need to step away at least 5 meters. Also, for some reason, it's a little wrinkly right here. I don't know if I'll ever discover that reason. I'm sure some of you probably know, who actually know what you're doing. And the collar overlaps in a strange way that makes it look crooked, so I'm thinking about just maybe not keeping the collar closed. It actually looks like this on the photo too, and I don't know how this would have been avoided. The back though, baby, you see that back tattoo, huh? At this point, I'm just showing off. And I really like how the darts came out, which is kind of a weird thing to be excited about, but I learned a new way to do darts that uses pins, and it makes it so much easier, and they come out perfect every time. If you're gonna make this top, it's really hard to do without the hands of somebody else, and preferably somebody who knows what they're doing. That's because you don't have anything holding up the sides and the top whenever you're trying to see the fit. So if you have any sewer buddies, maybe y'all could do this together and have matching tops. That would be cute. One lesson I learned is to try not to get too cocky when you're making stuff, because at one point my confidence was through the roof and I probably should have taken a step back and remained humble. Vogue really threw some monkey wrenches in there, and everywhere I looked online, people were saying things about Vogue patterns that made me think that this must be a normal thing, such as adding too much ease in certain places, and I think that was the case when it came to the back triangles that I had to deal with. I'm not sure what they're accounting for. There must be a reason. This pattern started to make me lose my mind a little bit, so Vogue, count your days. I don't think I'm gonna ever use a Vogue pattern again because this was hell. It is really cute though, so maybe I can justify making another one. So let me know what you think in the comments and hit me with a hell yeah. I hope y'all learned something new and you could use it at trivia, and I hope to get another one of these out in September. So as always, thanks for watching. Bye. Let's go find Lou. Bye.